Well, let's analyze some of this. Willem Els from the Institute for Security Studies joins us for more on the story. Willem, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this is just the most concerning story, isn't it? You've got 30 foreign nationals and we're using the word rescued at this point, that were found as part of this group that escaped in Lombardy East here in Johannesburg. But 50 people are believed to be on the run. It's believed that they were seen and caught on camera by people that lived in that community, neighbors essentially, hearing a ruckus outside and then looking out and seeing scores of people, making a run for it down the street, some of them naked, and others, of course, carrying the little bits of food that they can carry. I mean, your initial thoughts hearing about this particular story, and we've got some of this footage playing on the screen as well.
Good evening to you. Yeah, this is very concerning because, as you mentioned, it's the second instance this year alone where we have similar incidents. But also last year there were some of them, and all of them, and every time it seems that the targeted people are actually people from Ethiopia. So that indicates to us that this is a syndicate that is focusing on them, and they are preying on these people, trying to come and look for a better living. Some of these people, if it is a human trafficking, they actually are lured under false pretense here, promises of jobs, etc., and then they end up in the situation that these people have ended up. But what we also found is that your human smuggling syndicates, they also operate from here to South Africa from Ethiopia, and then what happens is that these people pay up to $10,000 in order to be smuggled to South Africa. But what happens then typically before they reach South Africa in either Zimbabwe, Mozambique, or in Botswana, then they are being ambushed and they are being robbed, and then they are stripped of all their documents and their belongings, and then they are being trafficked into South Africa even though they paid. So these syndicates are ruthless, and they are preying on these people. Once they are here in South Africa, of course, they end up in these houses where they are being kept until they are being further processed by the organized crime syndicates.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot to look at here. I immediately think of August 2024, when we were seeing, a derelict house in Lyndhurst that 90 undocumented Ethiopians were being kept there. And I mean, just look at the images of what the house looks like on the inside. We're playing those out for our viewers, the images of what that house looked like in Lyndhurst last year. But also, can we talk about the frequency that we're starting to see these issues at? And that's becoming quite concerning. Are there others perhaps that we may not have been able to flag as the media?
Yeah, it is very frequent. That shows to you that these organized crime syndicates are very, very active, and also that they do have leeway in coming into South Africa, because remember, they have to cross the border to get into South Africa, and it seems that they are very well organized and well embedded in these routes in order to smuggle these people or to traffic them here into our country. And one of the reasons, and we have to look at, countries in conflict like Somalia, where we get some of the people coming from, but also now Ethiopia. They just came from a civil war. There is still another conflict brewing there. The country, the economy is not doing very well with the people. A lot of people that are struggling there. So those who are being scammed into coming to South Africa, they're looking for a better life. They are coming here for promises of lucrative jobs, etc. And then they end up in this situation where they are being exploited.
Yeah, we just saw the Home Affairs Minister, Leon Schreiber, just this week launch a forum to deal with, some of the problems that we're seeing from border management authorities side of things. And I wonder, what it is exactly that says we have such a problem at our borders that we're able to see 50, 30, 90 undocumented people make it into our borders. I mean, what is the situation at our borders when you've got such large groups of people making it into the country?
Yeah. You see, and in the first place, I think we need to commend the minister on the launching of this initiative, but also on him being very honest on the challenges that are being faced within Home Affairs and in the border management environment. And also we see that from the minister's side, they promised two things. They said the one thing is that they're going to look at technology and how they can enhance technology and use technology in order to curb these corruption. And the second thing that he said is that there's going to be consequence management. They're going to look at putting up these boundaries, but also investigating. And should people then being arrested, there will be consequences, and it will not be an environment of impunity that we experienced so much in the past. So what's happening at our borders? These people are really being targeted. The people that are working there, from immigration, from customs, from the police, and even the military. They are being targeted by these syndicates, and they come with very lucrative offers to them, and they are relentlessly being targeted. And of course, then greeds take over, and if there is your chances of consequences to face the consequences are not very high, then of course these people take the gap, and they enrich themselves, and greed takes over, and we see that happens at the expense of these people that are suffering, but also at the expense of the country.
I'm just thinking now about the further sort of security threat that comes about when you've got approximately 50 people that managed to escape from a derelict building or running down the street, are seen by community members. The question is, where do they end up, right? And so where you do have these syndicates, there's a question of where the syndicates are able to get these groups of undocumented Ethiopians to where they're wanting to go. Where is that exactly from the information that we have? And then the further security threat of men running down the road, desperate to get away. Where do they end up?
Yeah. You see, your problem is that most often, or more often than none, these people they got nothing to go, and they don't have a job, they don't have a means of income. So chances are good that they will start to resort to petty crimes and even some more serious crimes in order to survive. So that opens the door for that. But also what we see in the past with the other people and the other incidents that you mentioned is that they are in Johannesburg. There are sweatshops, and these sweatshops are being run by other syndicates or transnational syndicates with foreign connections, and they are manufacturing illegal goods, counterfeit goods, etc. And then they buy these people, these men from the syndicates, the smuggling syndicates, and then they are using them or exploiting them as slave labor in their sweatshops.
Yeah. What do we need to improve where our law enforcement is concerned? I immediately think about whether or not we have the capacity from an intelligence point of view to really get to the root of the problem. This incident from Wednesday involving these 50 foreign nationals that are seen running down the road, coming from Lombardy East in the north of Johannesburg. I mentioned the 90 undocumented Ethiopians in Lyndhurst, a very similar sort of area. I mean, is there something to be looked at about why there is such a lot of activity happening in that particular area, and the intelligence that's necessary here?
Yeah, I think in the first place, South Africa, since the state capture, it severely impeded our capabilities and our capacity in the intelligence.
Willem, are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see that ever since we had the state capture, our intelligence fraternity and the environment has been severely targeted, and they are still struggling to recover from that. So our capacity is not where it is supposed to be. We see that the GILAP Act, the Amendment Act, is currently back at Parliament, so they are reworking that. So they are busy restructuring and trying to rectify the challenges of the past, and also to reestablish the capacity that is necessary. Because remember, without intelligence, you are working blind, and you can't act preemptively. So that is your one challenge that you have there. And then the second thing is, where do we go with the police and for that matter, border management? Your challenge that you have is capacity. Funding. We are underfunded. We are under-resourced, and this is really posing a challenge to the environment at our borders. And what we saw from Minister Schröder, but also from the Minister of Police, we saw that they started to demonstrate the political will with the strategies that they announced. And things are happening. The problem that you have is, in many cases, it takes time. And that is something that is a luxury for us when we are, if you look at what we are facing at our borders. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. We see that the strategies are coming, but we will have to ensure that these agencies are well resourced and funded in order to counter the challenges that they face. And also, there need to be the consequence management that the minister mentioned, and we have to curb corruption. You're never going to eradicate corruption. It's something that's always going to be with us. But what we can do is we can put up hurdles in order to make it much more difficult, and also the consequences, as I mentioned.
Yeah. Before I let you go, one last one, and that would be recommendations perhaps that you share for communities. I mean, here the community of Lombardy East, obviously, I can imagine, still quite shocked by what it is that they've seen. But is there something that communities can do to, I suppose, be vigilant of what is happening in and around their area?
Yeah. These syndicates, what they do is they normally go to areas where they will not be very visible, areas with high walls, with good security, and where your houses are very well secured, because they have to obviously keep these people within the houses. So they normally elect or select these type of environments to operate in. And then what happens is these people will be moved in, and for the residents there, in order to be able to pick up these type of things, it is very important that we start to get involved with our neighborhood watches and with our neighbors, and need to know what is going on in our areas. But typically, when you have a situation like this, the windows will be closed. Normally, the curtains will be closed. The doors will always be locked. The gates will always be locked, and there won't be a lot of movement except for the syndicate members that are moving in and out there.
Yeah.
So those are your giveaways that you can look out for in a community. And then, of course, if you've got a suspicion and you inform the police on that, the police will respond to that, and they should investigate that, and that will lead to a safer environment for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Willem, thank you so much for speaking to us. We really do appreciate your time. Willem Els there is, of course, with the Institute for Security Studies.